$9,994. Elon credit card in the amount of $9,463.36. Manual checks in the amount of $66,558.38. Payroll and liabilities for August 3rd, 2018 in the amount of $217,407.70 for a total of $530,041.38.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. I have a few questions on tonight's. On page 6 of the finance report, there's reference to prisoner housing. April shows $675, but June is $13,425. There's quite a big difference. I'm wondering if you could speak to that difference.
Yes, I can. The April invoice was paid, and there were 3 prisoners that were inadvertently omitted off of the billing. And so this is just the catch-up for the final remainder of the prisoners from April. And then the June billing that's a standard bill. That's what you'll normally see.
Okay. Okay. Another question on page 9. There's a Loomakers Airport wildlife training for $750. I'm not sure if you would want to speak to that, Mia, or maybe Kyle would speak to it.
I can actually speak to that as well.
Okay.
That is an 8-hour FAA required wildlife hazard and assessment training course that is required, and it's an annual training, so you will see that every year.
Who goes through that?
It's the airport staff.
Oh, okay.
And I don't have a breakdown of these specific individuals, but it's airport staff that goes through that.
And page 13, the stock dock, bat euthanasia.
Okay, and that one indicates that there were 6 bats that were captured around different locations in the city, and they were all euthanized. They do go to the state lab for testing. That is not included in this bill. This is simply for euthanasia.
Okay.
Is that some of the ones that were hanging around City Hall?
We've got locations at the Ash Grove School area, First Interstate Bank, Wyoming.com, Cowboy Cafe, and 2 more at First Interstate Bank. So they seem to be hanging around the First Interstate Bank area.
Gotcha. No comment about that. Okay. I think that's all I have.
I wanted to ask about the prisoner bill. We often, I guess, have happened that someone will be arrested on both a county warrant and on a city warrant. In those situations, I'm assuming that to the extent that they're being held by the county, we're not paying for that. Is that accurate?
That is correct. These are for prisoners that have been picked up in violation of some form of a city code. The rate that they charge is $75 per day. And I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, I believe it has to depend upon what time of the day that they're actually admitted into the detention center is when the timing starts for what their per day is. Right.
Which is part of the reason why sometimes people get arrested at 11 o'clock and don't get shipped over until about 12:01. Is that about accurate?
That would be correct.
That is correct. If they are booked in at 11:59, we get charged for that day.
So then what led to this here where that we have a mistake, I guess, or a misbilling of that magnitude? I'm not saying that's a lot compared to what we normally pay, but can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I have 3 prisoners that were admitted. I'm looking to see, actually, interestingly enough, the time period that it begins is at midnight, and then they're released at noon. And they were there for several days, $225 a piece per prisoner. And I believe they hold them until they are until they're seen in court. So it was that period of time that they were held.
So just neglected to let us know or something.
Well, yeah. Sometimes there's just billing issues, and yes.
Anything you wanted to ask? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I guess we'll vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes. Next thing is the election of the Finance Committee Chairman.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I would move to elect Tim Hancock as the chairman of the Finance Committee.
I would second that.
Okay. When you have three people, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes then. Anything else?
You will see that I did provide you with copies of the accounting chart of accounts and the breakdowns of the accounts and the object codes for your convenience. So as you're going through the claim approval list each time, that will help you to identify where the charters are being posted to a little more efficiently.
Very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
These are great. I missed it today. So I don't have them memorized.
If you'd like, I can send it to you in electronic format also.
Could you? I think you sent one last year too, so I think I had it.
We'll get that out to you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then we are adjourned at 6:53.
At 7:09 p.m. A little bit late. We had some technical difficulties, and I think we're on the air now. Would Councilmember Bailey lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, I will offer an invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are thankful for the opportunity that we have to serve the city of Riverton. And we are grateful for all the people in our community that serve so selflessly each day in youth athletics and on various committees and doing the things that will make Riverton a better place to live. We pray that we'll have Thy Spirit to guide and direct us, that we can be mindful of the needs of the members of our community, that we will act in their behalf, and that we might find Riverton growing and strong and vibrant as a result of our efforts. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Lance Scody.
Here.
Councilman Tim Hancock.
Here.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilman Sean Peterson.
Here.
Councilwoman Rebecca Schatze.
Here.
Mayor John Baker.
I am present and declare that we have a quorum. It's good to have you here with us in person, Sean.
It's good to be here, sir.
Okay. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second that we approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Communications from the floor. I should say that passes, I guess. The agenda is approved. Communications from the floor or citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourselves for the record. Okay. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, August 7, 2018, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, August 7, 2018, executive session. Approval of the minutes, August 14, 2018, council work session. Approval of the minutes, August 21, 2018, finance committee meeting. Approval of the Finance Committee recommendations for August 21st, 2018. Replat of lots 5 through 7, Ryan Park additions, from petitioners Lance and Kelly Gard and Frank and Darlene Rossi. And an open container permit application from the Riverton Chamber of Commerce for a farmers market and coffee fest on September 7, 2018 on Broadway from Main Street to Bar 10 from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Thank you. Are there any items that require further discussion?
Your Honor.
Go ahead, Tim.
Recommendations from the Finance Committee for consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $236,611.94, Elon credit card in the amount of $9,463.36, manual checks in the amount of $66,558.38, payroll liabilities for August 3rd, 2018 in the amount of $217,407.70, for a total of $530,041.38.
Thank you. Are there any, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Any additional discussion on that?
Your Honor.
Go ahead, Lance.
I'm sorry. I'm curious, and I'm not sure if we want to take it off the consent agenda. I have some questions about the open container permit. Should I just ask those questions here?
Don't just ask to take it off.
Okay.
Okay.
I would like to discuss this further.
Okay, all right. So we'll take that off consent. Mike?
Then I would abstain from the Bailey Enterprises and Wex line items.
Okay. All right, so we will approve the consent agenda minus the open container permit application. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda this evening, let's see, maybe we should go ahead and do that container permit, open container permit.
Okay.
Okay, so the chair would entertain a motion to approve the open container permit for the Riverton Chamber of Commerce.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Go ahead, Lance.
Your Honor, I'm curious if anyone can answer. I noticed that the request is from the Chamber. The sponsor is John Burberry, but it's signed by the Chamber Director. And curious why. I'm not sure. Maybe that might be helpful, because I'm trying to understand.
John Burberry is on my board,
Okay.
and
Pull the mic down, will you, please?
he's chairman of this coffee
you.
festival for us.
Okay.
It will hopefully be the first annual Roasters Rendezvous. So the idea is to do something with caffeine. So we've, as of this morning when I talked to John, we have probably 11 coffee roasters from around the state, and maybe even one from Idaho that's going to come in for this. So we want to try to make it an annual event. So.
Okay. Another question.
Go ahead.
Clarify the location of the event. Are we closing down?
Yeah, we're going to
Broadway
close the
between-
street from.
Wanted to just kind of clarify that.
Yeah, we're going to close the street from Main to the alley.
Okay.
And because we didn't want to get, Bar 10 is catering it for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to let First Interstate Bank still have access to their drive up.
Mm-hmm.
And then at last week's, and Mike was there, at last week's North Federal meeting, we actually talked about this, that's a detour. And Robert from the Highway Department said they handled it during county fair with the whole street closed. We can do it for a few hours and he didn't seem to think there was a problem, even though, even I questioned it a little bit, but, from my past days on being on council. But that time of the day, we're hoping it won't be too much of an inconvenience, and I think we're going to detour them around on 3rd or 5th
Okay.
at this point.
John?
We have the maps
Okay.
from
So, yeah, if you need to see that.
The actual diagram, the area that will be blocked off.
Okay.
Sean?
Chief, any issues?
Your Honor? No, there are not. Myself and Kyle have met several times on this. We feel like this is a really good plan. Bar 10 runs a really good business. Along with the chamber, we feel like there will be no issues.
Perfect. Thanks, sir.
And I totally support the event. I just wanted to get a little bit more
Yeah, and I understand.
clarifying
I
information.
mean, we're kind of running it this little green too, so, you know, we're hoping
I
everything will work
totally
fine.
support the event, think it's a great idea, and just.
And then on Saturday, we move up to the college, to the Intertribal Center, and they're going to have demonstrations and not only coffee, but things to go along with coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even learn how to roast your own coffee in your own home if you want to.
No, I think it's great idea.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, so motion on the floor is to approve the open container permit for the Riverton Chamber of Commerce Farmers Market and Coffee Fest on September the 7th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. The next item is Wind River Visitors Council Tourism Economic Impact Presentation. And Paula, we're great. It's great that you're here, and we apologize for the technical difficulties. So you want to come back some other day?
I do. Mayor,
Okay.
I would like to come back. My presentation is a very visual presentation because tourism is a very visual business.
Okay.
So I would like to reschedule. And I just wanted to say that I get very excited about hearing things like this Roasters Rendezvous and some of the tourism infrastructure, the assets that are being developed. That's really exciting. Now, 1 year ago today, you wouldn't have been able to drive from here to Colorado within 15 hours. I mean, it would take you 15 hours to drive from here to Colorado as it was the eclipse. And everybody, in 1 year. And Riverton saw, I think, the potential of what can happen on some really amazing things. So when I hear some infrastructure, some of these tourism activities that are starting to get talked about, that's very exciting to me that we can be still developing things like that. So anyway, I would like to come back and give the economic impact presentation.
You bet. Get together with staff and reschedule, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and staying for a minute and visiting with us.
No problem. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks. The next item is to take ordinance number 18-008 from the table.
Your Honor, I'd move to take ordinance 18-008 from the table.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we remove ordinance 18-008 from the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, Community Development Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Based on comments that we received at the July 17th and August 14th sessions, comments have been incorporated into the originally proposed parking guidelines. The biggest changes, as you can see, were removal of the non-applicable sections, valet parking, for instance. Probably not likely we're going to have any of that very soon. Renumbering of the section throughout, consolidation of uses throughout the tables, and then editing or amending the language for bicycle parking to be recommended rather than just required. We've cut down from 23 down to 17 pages, and I would like to stress that the first reading will be omission of our current language in the code. You will see this again on second and third reading, and that on third reading is when we would adopt the actual guidelines. This will just remove the verbiage from our existing code, our current regulations. And with that, I would answer any questions you may have.
Your Honor.
Tim, go ahead.
So if I'm understanding.
Excuse me, just a minute. Okay, just for history purposes. Councilmember Bailey moved, and it was seconded by Councilmember Gibbon to adopt ordinance 18-008 on first reading. And then we've been tabling it. Now this is back on. Okay, so the motion's on the table. That's right. Okay, Tim.
So just so I'm clear on this, when we're I think I've got you here. We've got to go through the 3 readings, and then that basically leaves it open for us to actually adopt the guidelines by resolution, which is what we'll be able to do in the future.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other discussions on this?
Your Honor.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Off-street parking, does this allow us to get more parking per off-street parking place, or does it reduce the numbers that, in other words, we have X now, will this change this or increase this? What will the actual facts happen? If I have 45 parking spaces that are currently, will I have 50 or will I have 40?
Go ahead.
Your Honor, thank you. So I did run a couple what-if situations based on the numbers we have, and I took Walmart and both Kmart because they're easy parking lots to count the number of parking spaces. Given the numbers that we have currently, they're identical. They're very, very similar. The only difference being that would be a maximum amount rather than the minimum amount. So right now, I think Kmart had 580 spaces, or I'm sorry, 480 some. Under these current numbers, they would be allowed to put the same amount in if they wanted to. They just wouldn't have to put that much in. So it would not reduce the amount of available parking, but you could reduce it if you wanted, especially if you wanted to share space. If they wanted to subdivide that large acreage and share parking, then that would accommodate that kind of subdivision.
So in fact, it maximizes the parking area for physical location.
Correct.
Thank you.
I'm not sure that's, they could, so they've got 500 and some parking places right now. If they wanted to put if they wanted to sell off part of that and put in a fast food joint there, okay, they would wind up with maybe 50 parking places less.
Correct.
Right now, our current code would prohibit them from doing that.
Correct.
Okay, the new code would allow them to do that, and they would have fewer parking places. Okay.
But total parking spaces that they're sharing would equal the total previously.
No, you'd have some parking places disappear for the business.
Well, the footprint of the business.
Right.
But if you were to do that with present, you wouldn't be allowed to do that.
That's correct. So this increases flexibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? You ready to vote on this on first reading? After a month?
It seems like forever.
We've been talking about it for a long time. It's hard to wrap your head around the idea of this is the maximum number of parking places that they could, All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. Okay. Consideration of master comprehensive plan request. I didn't say that right. Consideration of master comprehensive plan request for proposal, RFP. Community Development Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our current master plan is approximately 10 years old, and we have received funding from SLIB in the amount of $50,000. We have also had matching funds from the City of Riverton and Idea Inc. for $50,000. And so after our discussion on the August 14th meeting, we edited the document to add a schedule because we did not have that yet. and also increased our budget amount from 91.5, I believe, to 95,000, so that we have about a 5 to 10% contingency based on a discretionary task. And we also, based on Rick Soller's comments, added a requirement for insurance.
Okay, so we've got this document. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? And, okay, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the request for proposal for the master plan.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we approve the RFP for the comprehensive master plan.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Just once again, thanks to Tony and Kevin and Eric. I know you guys have really done a lot of legwork to make this happen for us. It's something that's been talked about since I've been on the council, so I don't know if we can say thank you enough for finding opportunities for us to be able to finish this up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Tim?
This was going to be run by Idea Inc. Has that happened yet? Have they had a chance to look at this?
They did respond, yes.
Okay, did they have any changes from what we looked at before?
One sentence. And it was in the economic strategic plan section. That would be task 5. It's the last sentence in the paragraph. Recommendations for Riverton's economic sustainability and diversity will be provided in terms of retention and creation. Riverton's strategic plan for economic development will be updated during this process. That was required language for some of their grants.
Thank you.
Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Looks like we're going to move forward on that. So I suppose over the next few months, maybe, huh?
Correct.
Or we pick somebody.
Should
they do it?
We'll advertise August 26th and September 2nd, and then we'll accept proposals through September 25th, conduct interviews on October 16th, and award approximately November 6th. And that would be the next council meeting. Our study would then begin shortly thereafter, with the draft report being due in April, mid-April, and then the final report due mid-May.
Okay. Thank you. The next item tonight is the consideration of a rate study contract. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. During the fiscal year 2019 goal-setting session, one of the items that was discussed was the development of a rate study, looking at our rates in all of our enterprise funds to make sure that they were both sustainable and taking into account the long-term perspective. In this case, the proposed rate study evaluates over a 10-year period, looking into the future. The amount budgeted is actually the exact amount because we had the quote prior to, so it's $18,582 spread across the 3 enterprise funds. The study itself will take approximately 6 months. It accomplishes Council Goal 6-1, which is actually adopted to conduct a comprehensive rate study. And at this point, it is recommended for approval, and we would stand for any questions.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the going into the rate study.
Motion to approve the rate study contract.
Second.
Questions? Lance?
Your Honor, could you describe the process in, was this bid out, or is there like one vendor that just typically does these, or what's the, what was the process in determining the gettinggreatrates.com?
Fair enough. Your Honor?
Go ahead.
This is a service contract and was not required to be bid out, so no, we did not. This was something that I brought forward prior to my arrival here. I actually did the research looking into a lot of the different options. There are other groups, other individuals that do rate studies. This particular individual I had worked with before. I have seen their work, and they had worked throughout the state. There's also a discount because of their work within the state. I've developed a couple different rate structures at different times. One of them that I worked on had to do with or employed an engineering firm that looked at a rate study that became punitive due to water restrictions. Those tend to drive up in cost significantly. I think that was about 11 years ago and was $55,000. We absolutely want a rate study. We do want to look at our 10-year. So going with what amounts to a proven regional person that has worked within the state does actually have some value. However, we did not bid it out. If council would like, we absolutely can go back to we can go back and do that. This will take about 6 months, so we do have a little bit of time. However, I'm comfortable at this point with the recommendation still, knowing what tends to come of it.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Tony, do you, in the previous rate settings, we looked at the cost of living going up, and we based our increases on those facts. Do you anticipate that we are low or high, or where do you think we are in reference, say, to a town of similar size in Wyoming? Are we behind the 8 ball? Are we really so low, or are we extravagant and high in comparison to, say, Douglas?
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Honestly, sir, usually we don't look at rates in the same manner where we compare across communities. We can, and we can bring that information to you. There's a couple reasons we don't do it. One is that the rates themselves usually tend to be structured differently. They have different base costs. They have different quantity costs. Sometimes they'll have multi-tiers. So it's a little hard to compare the apples and oranges. I could not tell you directly where we are compared to the other communities, but I can find that out as part of this study. I don't think we'll need this individual to do it. I can do that myself and bring you that information. I think it's good information to have. As far as how we stand with our rates comparatively, I believe we discussed this briefly at the last time we had a rate consideration, a change being considered, and I think we're going to be a little bit low overall. I think there'd be one of the things that's probably going to drive that statement is the fact that we have capital that we need to include within there. Being is that we have a capital plan right now that is only a year old. I don't know how much we've actually considered our long-term capital purchases. For instance, we've talked about how the sanitation fund has a certain amount of money in it, but we also know that we may have remediation costs coming down the line, and that's something that we're going to have to take into consideration.
Sean?
So as I was reading through this, I highlighted a couple things. So I think this is a good idea, and I trust you. We hired you to do this, so I don't want to question that. I just like the fact that we're going to get a document. So hopefully that's something that we can put on the website somewhere, because it seems like every time since I've been on the council that we've done a rate study and we've done an increase, holy cow, we're the worst people in the world. But, 5 cents is a lot of money to some people, so I understand. So if they can have this and understand where we're coming from, it's not just us sitting here like, well, we need to make more money. Let's raise everybody's water bill. So I think this is a good idea to have something like this that can support. It's not just us sitting up here making up good idea fairies. It actually is legitimate stuff, so. Thank you.
Kyle, go ahead.
Last time we were accused of sneaking behind the barn to raise these rates, and we didn't we did not forcefully inform any of the Riverton citizens that we were doing it in the dark of night under a cloak of secrecy. Is there some way of eliminating that secrecy and dark of night so that we have an open and more visible view of what we're about to do?
Your Honor?
Go ahead.
Actually, I think there's something within this that is actually going to begin to help you, and then I have a second part of that answer. The first part is one of the things that's considered within this amount of money is for that individual that is doing this rate study to come and present that to you. That way they can answer any and all questions about the rates of this community, how it was calculated, and make adjustments accordingly if at the last moment somebody mentions something that nobody else thought of. That's very useful. Because it's in a public forum, I believe that's going to give us the opportunity to discuss that at length. Advertising that in advance with the understanding that it's a rate study, not a rate change yet, but it's the rate study and that information is going to be presented would be the first step. The second part of that would be the individual that came forward and had a challenge with the way in which we advertised or the time frame has already come and talked to me, and I believe we found a couple ways that we can do that a little bit better. We can not only put that out on our Facebook, we can not only advertise that a little bit in advance, but by doing those things, we can probably try to let everybody know. Whether or not people show up at that point, I think we want to try to go for that. Well, you can't say you didn't know it was happening. It might also, we also had a little bit of a conversation about discussing what that impact is on average, maybe a little bit more. But that conversation can develop as during and after we have the actual rate study presented.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And if you will all remember, the last time we talked about the rate study, directly after that, we got presented with what the annual expected budget was for each of those funds. And even with our increase, we were going to show a little bit of a shortfall in the amount of money it was going to cost to operate the system. So, I think just pure simple math shows that the rate increase we did was more than in the consumer's favor, not in the city of Riverton's favor. Right. And I think it was justified and probably could have been justified to go a little bit more, but we agreed to look and study and make sure that we were looking at it all properly, and that's sort of where this all came from. So.
Ready? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. Council committee reports and council members roundtable. I will not start with Rebecca.
Break her in right.
So Lance, have you got something for us tonight?
We're going to do
Your Honor.
Committee appointments.
Committee appointments. Council committee appointments. I'm writing in the wrong place. I'm sorry.
Skip it.
Okay.
We all just accepted it and moved on.
Okay. I jumped over this rate study thing and filled in the council committee appointment already. So, okay. So, city administrator's report, please.
Sorry, Your Honor, I'm getting right over to it. Your Honor, at the with the appointment of Rebecca Schatze to the Ward 2 vacancy, there are some vacancies that haven't been addressed following the departure of Councilwoman Gibbon. At the last meeting, Councilwoman Schatze was appointed to the Finance Committee and took that seat. However, there are a couple other places where we do have some changes. One is Fremont County School District 25 Rec Board, Parks Committee, Solutions Committee, which Councilwoman Schatze sits on, and we would also point out that the Region 4 rep was Holly Gibbon, but that is not an appointment by this council, so that is currently vacant. At this point, we recommended that, other than Finance Committee, that Lance Godey be placed on the rec board with Rebecca Schatze as the alternate. and that Rebecca Schatza remain on the Parks Committee and the Solutions Committee, and that would entail Councilman Hancock leaving the Solutions Committee. But he's welcome to visit.
And I would. Will.
Okay.
I believe that is the extent of the changes, Your Honor.
All right, and so then they just elected Tim Hancock to be the chairman of finance, so that'll be some additional weight on his shoulders and working with the Senior Citizens Endowment. Okay, so I guess I need to get council approval for that. So all those in favor of the reassignments that have just been discussed? I guess maybe a motion, huh? Is there a motion out there?
Does it require
Your Honor, I would move that we approve the committee assignments.
Second.
Moved and second to approve the committee assignments. Any further discussion on that? Anybody feels left out or?
Your Honor, the only thing that I was seeing was a splash pad group. I didn't know if it would be an issue since I'm already on that committee.
You are on that too.
Well, I didn't know if that, my name, because I'm actually a chair on that committee previously. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was an issue there or.
Well, that's going to go away pretty soon, isn't it?
Wrap up.
I sure hope so.
I hope that goes away. We can sure revise this list to add your name to the splash pad committee. Okay,
Yeah.
It is ad hoc, so it's gonna vanish here. Okay,
So amended.
so amended. Okay, so we'll amend it to that. Any other thoughts about committee assignments and?
She's kind of like Holly, ain't she?
Mm-hmm. She's a firecracker.
I'm talking about with the appointments. So
Okay,
let's move
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye. Thank you. Okay, now, council committee reports and council members roundtable. Councilmember Godey.
Yes, sir. I did want to give a few comments related to the Solutions Committee. We have had a couple meetings, I think 2 meetings since our last regular session that included input from liquor license holders. And I had briefly mentioned that, and I can't remember exactly how many times I've mentioned it, so I'll mention it again just to make sure. We have looked at adding and have added 2 members from the liquor license holders group to our committee to definitely give input in areas of substance abuse issues. We are actively working on an ordinance that we thought was getting ready to come forward and now is not so ready to come forward. We do have another meeting this Thursday, and we've doubled the amount of meetings. We're going to start meeting twice a month instead of only once a month to try to help really speed up and move at a quicker pace regarding the issues that we are attempting to address. I did also want to maybe comment a little bit on some of the community issues that have recently come up that are related to the work of the Solutions Committee and the speed of our action. I'm hoping that our having more meetings can help that. We can be more speedy in our action. Some comments I know I have seen that not sure that a strategic plan or a mission or a vision are all that helpful when it comes to actually taking action. And while I can understand that and I want to totally go as fast as possible, I think it's important that we know where we're going and how we're going to get there. And without a strategic plan, I think the council themselves would agree that that's the reason why we develop strategic plan, and so I believe that model works well for the Solutions Committee. But I do share the community's concerns and frustration with situations in the community, which is part of the reason why I'm actively serving on the Solutions Committee and on City Council. So I share that and would encourage people that if they have ideas, certainly contact City Hall and pass those on. Come to a Solutions Committee, find out more about that. Be actively involved in solving problems, not complaining about them constantly. That would be my editorial comment. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lance. You somewhere along the line, you need to get to the point where you have some way to measure success.
Correct.
Okay, you gotta be able to say, hey, we did this, we accomplished this. So part of that, you've got to have a little planning or goal setting in advance and some way to measure that.
Correct.
In order to have some sense that what we're doing is effective.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for your efforts on that. Tim, have you got anything for us tonight?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Mike?
I had a lot of meetings in the last couple of weeks. Starting out with the Forest Committee. Again, the Forest Committee has a lot of projects going on this summer that are sort of getting finalized, and Fremont, I think, is just about done. And of course, North Federal, and they're working up in Big Bend subdivision and off of Sunset. And so, I mean, there's a lot of projects going on this summer, and so that money's been very well spent this year. They're going to make a real attempt to sort of look at all the projects that we would have coming down the pike. So if there's people that have input for that, they're going to be doing that in the next month or so, looking at the projects for next summer and trying to get a plan way ahead so that we can get those ready so that staff and or engineering firms can get bid documents ready so that we can bid those early in the spring, because we've really seen a good cost savings by bidding those jobs early before people are all busy and just throw a lot of money at stuff to see if they get it, because they'll have to staff up. And so, we've been very successful getting our bids under engineers' estimates and saving us some money in that respect. So I think there's a lot of great projects going on, and we got a lot of things coming in the future. And of course, there's always going to be plenty of work to be done. The Gannett Davis Lane area is a big one. They got a study from the engineering firm with what the expected costs are, what the scope would be, some of the different options of what we could do. Again, that project alone would be probably more than our budget for a year or maybe even two. And so I think there's some real planning that we've got to do moving forward to see how we're, working on those projects and how we prioritize projects one over the other and that type of stuff. So a lot of really good work being done. So I really appreciate the Forest Committee and Kyle and the staff, and so that was great. Also went to the airport board meeting. Again, our Great Lakes numbers are looking up. Again, we've added
Great Lakes.
Great Lakes.
Great Lakes numbers are looking really bad. Denver Air Connections numbers are up. If I remember correctly, without my notes in front of me, I think we had as many bodies on Denver Air Connections as we did last year with both airlines, real close. So our numbers are looking good. We probably won't make our 10,000 per year this year, but it's looking really good. Denver Air Connections is working towards their additional qualifications. I think it's 121, which gets them closer to being in the group with a regular airline, being able, they're working on getting the luggage exchange and being able to book your flight from Riverton to Denver and Denver on to wherever else you want to go all together on the sites. And so it really is, moving forward in a positive way. And of course, they've saved us half of this year what we spent last year. And so I think we're doing it pretty economically. And so things are looking really positive at the airport also. And then, of course, I got the mayor, Tony, and I have been meeting with the Save Our Hospital folks and with the administrators from the hospital, and I volunteered to be on the hospital board, and they accepted me, so I don't know what they were thinking, but needless to say, I've had about
Potential.
Opportunities.
I think at least a half a dozen meetings between the group here with the city and the administrators and those folks and the Save Our Hospital group and the hospital administration. And so I'm really looking forward to trying to make a positive influence on the state of our Riverton Hospital and healthcare in general overall in Fremont County. And I think, again, to mirror what Lance said, I think one of the main things we need to do is keep it positive and look at the things that we do have, not the things that we maybe don't, because the negative rumor mill stuff that goes around is not productive at all. It does not help. And, you know, we've all had good and bad experiences over the years and different things, but I think we just need to look forward and focus on the positive things that we can do to help improve healthcare here in Riverton and Fremont County, and encourage everybody that we can to how good of a place Riverton is to live, that we all know, and how great a place it is to do business. And I think, you know, the hospital is one of those key things in our city that makes people want to live here. And so I think it's definitely worth all of us putting our effort into improving. That's all I have.
Thanks, Mike. Kyle, do you know when the next Force Committee meeting is? Can you give us that date?
Yes, Your Honor. The next Force Committee meeting will be the second Monday of September, so that would be September 10th, and the time of that is 11 a.m.
And it's here, right?
That is correct.
In this room. Okay, so if anybody has any suggestions about projects that they think are worthy of our 1% funds, that'd be a good place to make your concerns known. Okay, Kyle, have you got anything for us tonight?
Met with the Chamber of Commerce, and they're working tirelessly to improve and to get business in the downtown area, to relocate their chamber office to a more centrally located area. There's, you know, it's always interesting, as you've always commented on, people willing to serve on boards, and there's a lot of people on the Chamber of Commerce that give hours freely. Like Mike said on the hospital, how a positive thing, and they're working on that, trying to bring more sunlight, more positive look at the hospital. Secondly, solid waste is doing well, and we like that. That's money that we don't have to spend. We can spend on some, you know, spending money on garbage is mind-boggling. But that's all I have, Your Honor. Okay, thank you. Sean, have you got anything for us?
I do, and I guess I'm just going to keep rolling along with the same theme that's been going on tonight. So I'm a huge sports fan, and I don't know if you guys know who Chris Carter is, but he's an ex-football player and analysis for ESPN. He's got this saying that says, "Come on, man," you know. And one thing that he said is, think about. He was talking to all these great athletes and said, "Think before you hit send on your Twitter, Instagram, or something like that." So last night, I got a message from one of the people in my district, in my ward, sorry, and they said, "Did you hear what happened?" And on and on and on. So, you know, I got sucked into Facebook and I started trolling down. So I guess long story short is I want to try to encourage everybody, the same thing that's been said, is as much time as it takes you to sit down on your phone or whatever and type in something negative about something that's going on at the park or with what the city council is doing or what the hospital do, something like that. You can take just as much time to involve yourself in the community. Instead of complaining about how terrible a place this is to live, you know, step out and do something about it. Take care of the weeds in front of your house. Take care of the weeds in the alley. you know, grab yourself and, you know, go out there and do a service project, or, you know, just walk through the park and help something. I don't know, but it just seems like here lately it's just getting more and more negative here, and we're never going to accomplish anything if everybody just keeps downtrodden everything that we're trying to do to be better. I am totally excited about the park. I think it's going to be phenomenal when we get everything done. The splash pad is going to be a great addition. Even Matt Wright has more plans to do stuff along with Mr. Apodaca in the park, that they want to try to make it, you know, just that much better. So I guess my plea is to all the citizens of Riverton is, you know, as much time as it takes you to sit down and think about what you're going to type about how terrible we're doing, you know, step outside of your house, step outside of your comfort zone, and do something to help make this the place that you think it should be, instead of just complaining about the place that it's becoming. So I guess I'm done. I'll get off my soapbox. Think before you hit send.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Rebecca, now you've kind of seen what everybody is doing.
All right.
Okay, and so if you have something to tell us tonight, that's fine, but you can also just say, I'll pass, and next time we do this, then you'll be ready because you'll have some committee reports, right?
I'm ready.
You're ready?
I am.
Okay.
So I'm going to report first on the Parks Committee, as I'm a member of the Parks Committee. We meet every other Monday. We just met last night, and what we've been doing over the past 3 or 4 Mondays is going through one park at a time. We have our meetings at the parks to get out there and be present. This most recent Monday, we had Teeter Park, Rhine Park, and Monroe Park. And what we do is we just walk through with notepads and see what we could fix or what we could recommend to be fixed if we can't do it ourselves. Last night we actually discussed simple things that we can do to improve it that's not going to cost money, because we understand that everything costs money. You know, if we want new equipment, if we want to build a shelter, if we want to bring picnic tables in or barbecue pits. So what we said last night was we're going to start doing things that maybe we can do ourselves or even get like a group of people to do. So for instance, at Teeter Park, well, I should go with Monroe Park because that was one of the first parks we visited. Monroe Park, if you guys have been there recently, it's an awesome little park, but they have a basketball court there that's got 3 cracks in it. And in those cracks are weeds that have grown through. So we were pulling weeds last night while we were there. Because, as you walk by, the first thing you notice is those weeds growing through those cracks. So we pulled them out, and it made a huge difference just pulling those weeds out. And then as we moved on to Teeter Park, we noticed that the basketball court could be repainted, with new lines. Some of the pine trees, could be trimmed up on the bottom, to show appearance. And we were talking, as I'm sure we've talked before in the Solutions Committee and with other groups of people, that what our town kind of lacking right now is the sense of pride in what we have. And that's why people aren't necessarily caring about it or taking care of their own places. So we thought if we could just do those minor things that don't cost any money or very little money, or things that we can do ourselves, and other people see that, maybe they'll catch on board and start improving their own place, and in turn making our community a better place. And something else that the Parks Committee is willing to do, just as the splash pad was to raise the money ourselves if we need to. We are more than happy to do fundraising or get somebody on board that could start writing grants for certain things that our parks do need. We don't think that it relies totally on the city to do that kind of stuff. We as members of the community should also be held responsible for making sure our stuff looks nice. So we've discussed maybe doing that. I actually mentioned last night maybe doing one huge event every year that the city could help out with, like a fundraising event. A lot like we did for the splash pad, the New Year's Eve event, because we brought in a little over $10,000 each year that we did that. And that's enough to, buy new paint or that type of stuff for the parks. But yeah, anyhow, we just meet every other Monday of the month, and we're pretty proactive. The next park we're going to is to JC Park. Just reporting on the splash pad, we actually have a meeting tomorrow afternoon. We're meeting at 5:30 at Daylight Donuts to just discuss some final things, and then just putting it out there that the splash pad, even though we're hopefully almost done, we're still willing to raise more funds if we needed to, in the case that is necessary. So that's all I got.
Thank you. That's great. That's great. Okay. And that comes because you've already been involved.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Tony, have you got anything for us?
Yes, Your Honor, mine is relatively short. As Councilman Godey denoted, the Solutions Committee has been meeting and is meeting again this Thursday. Secondly, I'm sad to report we did get notice on our efforts on the VA facility. We were not one of the top 3 selected. However, that being said, I would like to draw attention to the efforts of staff as a whole, but specifically Eric Carr for his good work getting that proposal put together. It was well done. We didn't have a lot of information, and we did a great deal with it, and that's appreciated. So while I'm sorry to report it, I was very pleased with everything that was done on our behalf. So Eric, thank you. Everybody here who helped support us and attended it, thank you very much. We'll try for the next one next time, and we'll just keep going after these items again and again and again, and we'll be successful. The only other item I have is more of a kind of a nice item. We've talked about improving our website. One of the things I began working with Megan on is putting together a interactive Google map for our community. That's going to be able to, we can take that, we can post it to our site or whatever site we ever have. Others can use it, take it, share it, and it can be updated very easily. What it'll do is allow us to not only identify different aspects of our community and categories, but you can also click on the boxes on the left-hand side that say, okay, I want to know where, you know, places to eat and places to stay are when I come into town, or I want to know where places to shop are. All of those can come up. Click on them. They can also direct you to it using Google Maps and the like. It's relatively easy, simple, but I think it can be a good tool for us. So we're going to work on developing that. Obviously, community of more than 10,000 people, we have a number of different places. Then we want to make sure that everyone gets on there as best we can on the onset. So we're going to be working on that over the next month or so, and then we look forward to kind of rolling it out here in the next few meetings and kind of showing everybody what it can be. We'll be updating that periodically afterwards. That's all I have for right now, unless there's any questions.
Good, thank you.
Your Honor. On the, I'm sorry, the Google Map thing, a little tangent to that, but it's related, and I'm not sure how many people realize, but if you do a Google search to go from Casper to Jackson, that it does not take you through Riverton, because the quicker route is Missouri Valley, and I know that that's the default setting of Google, and there's nothing necessarily that we can do to the Google. Jeff Bezos is a billionaire for a reason, but I'm just kind of wondering if maybe we need to be thinking about, and maybe this is something that whether the Chamber, Wind River Tourism Board, something along those lines can better encourage traffic past Missouri Valley to get to Riverton instead of taking the quote-unquote shortcut. It's a bit of a place marker. I'm not sure, we do something about it tonight, but it is an interesting little anecdote regarding.
There is something being done already, being worked on.
Okay, great.
So I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. We'll do our best to talk to Google, but they haven't taken our call yet.
I got his number. We'll call him.
Okay. I'll work with Councilman Peterson directly following the meeting.
Okay, so the first of the announcements on Empty Bowl is out. So we, in Fremont County support the VOA and the Center for Hope, and this is their big fundraiser for the year. In the past, members of the City Council and staff have all thrown in enough to where we can get a table and a banner and that type of thing, and kind of make a presence there. I know that we do already make a presence there in the fact that we, put $100,000 and some change into VOA every year with our third-party request, but at the same time, as members of the City Council, if we can participate in that individually, I think that's a great opportunity for us and a good project to be involved in, and a good opportunity to eat some stuff that's different and unique. So there's an opportunity for us also to show up with our favorite soup and to be part of the show and serve people. And so that's been a terrific thing in the past. They've raised quite a little bit of money by doing it, and I hope that we can be thinking about it. The date is October the 25th, so that's some distance away, but I think we've all kicked in something towards that. The table is $500, so we've tried to kind of share that inside of staff and around the council table. I'm grateful to Mike. He has volunteered to take on quite a challenge. Obviously, to make any kind of change in the hospital situation that we have here in Riverton, it's going to take some work on the inside of the hospital in order to be effective. And so Mike's committed himself to that, and so he's going to be super busy working on that, trying to be a board member for the hospital and represent the needs of Riverton at the same time. And so we are really hopeful that we can make a difference in the way Sage West looks at our hospital at the present time. It's interesting, the last meeting that we were in, there's really three issues that are all wrapped up together. And one of those issues is people who have concern about the availability of health care close to home, and to make sure that they got a doctor when they need one and that type of thing. And the second one is an issue of the old kind of competition between Lander and Riverton. And we just want to make sure that we've got a hospital if Lander has a hospital. Almost on parity. They've got a population of, 7,500, 8,000 people. We've got a population of almost 11, so our hospital should be bigger, right? Okay, so that's part of it. And then I think for us, there's a third issue that most of the people in the room seem to be concerned about, and that is that the economic impact that the hospital has in our community. They're a big employer. A lot of people work at the hospital. And I think it gets increasingly difficult to recruit people, new families, that type of thing, to come to Riverton when we can't say that we've got a robust medical facility and robust medical services in our community. So there's really three issues that are kind of confusing sometimes. And so you got people in the room that are focused on one or other or all of them. And so there's a real challenge for us to kind of work that out, because I'm not sure that we've got buy-in on all of those issues from everybody. And so it's going to be really difficult to pull that together. But Sean's comments about let's be positive, that's my concern, is that we can be really negative about things and sow a lot of mistrust and concern that nobody's telling us the truth, and there's plenty of spin to go around, I can tell you that. So what we need to do is really try to focus on the positive here and see what kind of gains we can make. And you know, the letter that was in the paper was a great letter that went to the Citizens Committee meeting that was at the library last week, and I felt in general that it was positive in tone. The people there are interested in making sure that our hospital here in Riverton is successful. They want it to be a profit-making operation, and they hope that it'll improve. And I think that if we talk about it in a positive way and we work in a positive direction, that we can have an impact on what we get in the way of health care here in Riverton. So there's you know, I think 3 issues, and the economic one is the one that hurts us the most. And interestingly enough, you know, the comment, all the concern and the angst that we express about how poor health care seems to be in Riverton actually doesn't serve us very well. Because when we recruit a new doctor into Fremont County, they don't want to come here, they want to go to Lander. So we're actually talking people out of coming here. And I think Riverton's a great place to live. I've raised my family here. We've enjoyed our relationship with people in this community for decades. And this is a great community, a nice place to live. And so I hope we can continue to build on the good things that we have here and what we've been able to do in the past. So thanks, Mike, for jumping in and saying, yeah, I can be on that committee and or on that board, and we'll have somebody kind of on the inside at least to hear and understand where the hospital's coming from. So I think that's I made some notes here, and I think I've covered everything I need to do. So, any further comments by anybody? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 8:15.